And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Good evening, San Diego. Welcome to the Michael Gaddis Show. I am your host, Michael Gaddis. I am a top-producing realtor, a licensed California attorney, and an NMLS licensed mortgage loan originator/broker. My experience, knowledge, and education separates me from the nearly 20,000 people that hold real estate licenses in San Diego. This show is about anything and everything related to real estate in the San Diego area. During the course of this show, we will cover real estate, legal issues related to real estate, finance, distressed housing, as well as many more real estate-related topics. If you have any questions you would like answered or topics you would like me to discuss, you can email me at michael@michaelgaddis.com. That's Michael at michaelgaddis.com. Or you can contact me on Twitter at MGJD That's MGJD Realty. Now, a little bit about me. I moved to San Diego on January 4th, 1999 from Kansas City, Missouri. The day that I moved from Kansas City, the temperature was 0 degrees with a -10 wind chill factor. And most Californians don't even have any idea what a wind chill factor is, and good for you guys that you don't know that. But let's just put it this way. It's hard to breathe when it's that cold. So I have never looked back. I love Kansas. I love San Diego, and I plan on spending the rest of my life here. I have 3 companies. The law offices of Michael Gaddis, APC, in which I specialize in distressed housing. Distressed housing basically encompasses, anybody who's losing their house. I specialize in trying to loss mitigation, which is basically helping people out of bad situations. I also run Michael Gaddis Realty Group, where I specialize in helping people with luxury real estate, and Frontier Loan Group, Inc., which is the finance company that I own. Of the 3, I'm probably the most passionate about real estate, and the reason I'm the most passionate about real estate is because you just never know what's going to happen on any given day. Let me give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I went to a listing appointment. The house was about a $650,000 house. I pull up to the house and the front door's open. In the front yard were chickens. There are like 2 or 3 chickens just running around the front yard. I thought it was a little bit unusual. I mean, I know a lot of people that raise chickens for eggs, but I don't usually see them running around a person's front yard. So as I go up towards the front door, I notice the front door's wide open. And I ring the doorbell, and a chicken walks into the house. The homeowner walks past the chicken, comes up to me and says, "Hey, hello." And I said, "Hey, did you realize a chicken just walked into your house?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, they live inside. They're our house chickens." I kid you not. You just never know what you're going to get. So I was showing some buyers the other day as well, some houses. And I went to the first house, and an elderly couple owned this house. Beautiful house in Oceanside, great view. We're looking out at the house on the interior, and I noticed something bumps up against me. I look down, and there's a giant turtle walking around the house. Apparently, these people have a house turtle. So, as I said, you just never know what you're going to get. After leaving the house with the turtle, though, I took the buyers over to another house. I'd called the agent, told him that we were coming. We pull up to the house, and first of all, there's no sign in front of the house. The curb appeal is terrible. There's weeds growing everywhere. And, the paint is chipping off. There's spider webs all over. And I'm like verifying that this is the correct house we're going to see. But sure enough, it's the right address. So I knock on the door with my clients, and a guy answers the door with his shirt off, with a giant beer belly, eating a sandwich. And he has this strong Russian or some type of accent. "Yes?" he asks. And I said, "I'm here to see the house." And he goes, "Oh, yes, come in." By the way, that's the best accent that I can do. So we walk inside the door, and all around this house, I mean, it was like literally there was just a little path that led through the house to the kitchen, and then there's another one that led up the stairs. The rest of the house was filled with antiques, like antiques upon top of antiques. And we're talking like deer heads, and we're talking moose heads, and I mean, there were vines growing down from the stairs. They had plants all over the place. It looked like something out of a Hannibal Lecter story. Anyway, we start going through the house, and we get to the kitchen. The kitchen's filthy. I mean, it has like pots of old food in it, and it's got like, sandwich materials all around. The guy's walking around, "Oh, you like the house?" I mean, I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to be polite." At the same time, I'm horrified. I look on his table. He's got white powder on his table and a giant bong in his house. And I'm thinking to myself, did you not realize we're coming over to show the house? Your agent did call you, correct? You could have at least moved the bong before we came over. So I said, okay. So I said, well, let's check out the backyard. Of course, by then it was more just out of pure amusement than any reason to really want to buy this house. So we go in the backyard. The guy's got giant paper mache eyeballs in this backyard. I mean, we're talking huge. These things are like giant. I mean, they're probably like three foot in diameter, giant eyeballs. There's probably like 4 or 5 of them. One was hanging from a tree. Then he's got his pool is like only a third of the way filled, and it's got like some green stuff in the bottom, and I swear something was swimming around in there. I have no idea what it was in that pool. And then I look around, there's like 50 10-speed bikes, old 10-speed bikes lined up against the back of the house. I don't understand. I'm really, really confused at this point. My buyer happens to have been a retired police officer, so he was, of course, well, first of all, he was concerned by the white powder and the bong on the table. I thought that was the first thing he was a little bit worried about. Then he was a little bit worried because there was 50 10-speed bikes sitting there, and I thought, oh my. So the guy comes in, we walk inside, and he says, "So, do you want to see the upstairs?" Oh, I wanted to see it because I didn't know what I was going to see, but my clients are like, grabbing my shirt saying, "Let's get out of here really fast." So we ended up starting to leave, and the guy said, "You give me full price offer. You give me full price offer, okay?" And I'm like, oh my God, you'd be lucky to get any offer at all. So as I said, you never know what you're going to get in real estate, and that's why I love it so much. So I think let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is good news for San Diego. Playboy magazine has ranked San Diego in its top 10 sexiest cities in the U.S. I kid you not. San Diego ranks number 9. Now, Playboy magazine ranked these based on such things as hot locales, cool nightlife, a great setting, and an undercurrent of desire. So we have all these criteria that they've used, and we rank number 9. So I'm assuming you guys all want to know who ranks ahead of us. Number 1 on the list, New York City. Number 2, Los Angeles. Number 3, Chicago. Number 4, Miami. Number 5, San Francisco. Number 6, Boston. Number 7, Seattle. Number 8, Las Vegas. Then here's San Diego, followed by Portland, Oregon. I'm a little bit surprised to see Portland, Oregon on that list. I mean, I've been to Portland and I like it a lot, but I don't know if I would necessarily, call it one of the sexiest cities, but what do I know? So anyway, I want to get into the next topic, which is a little bit more subdued, which I was reading an article in the Union Tribune. Jonathan Horn of the Union Tribune reported in an article on July 31st that San Diego has the 3rd worst supply of homes in the country. The 3rd worst supply. He says that Zillow reported the supply of housing is down 30% over last year. Mr. Horn quoted Svenja Goodell of Zillow, who gave 3 reasons why this may be the case. The first, people are still underwater on their homes. The second, owners are skittish about moving up because of the competitive market. And 3, some owners feel that their homes are still appreciating, so they don't want to miss out on the potential increase. I would like to offer a 4th reason, which I think is probably a pretty important reason. It has to do with interest rates. During that low period of, where the interest rates dropped to historic lows, like the mid 3s, a lot of people refinanced into 30-year fixed with 3.5% interest rates. It is really hard to think about selling your house, moving up, and having to pay a higher interest rate. So I think a lot of people are really taking that into consideration, the fact that they're going to lose a 3.5% 30-year fixed interest rate to move up in the market. So I think that's probably a very large reason as well, because the interest rates are higher now. So if they buy up, then they're obviously going to spend more money on a house and have to have a higher interest rate. So just in case you were wondering which two markets have a worse supply than San Diego, the article says Charlotte, North Carolina, and San Antonio, Texas. I was a little bit surprised by those two as well. I've been to San Antonio, but I've never been to Charlotte, but it seems like things are worse over there. I would like to point out that there is some good news for San Diegans, especially those thinking about moving into North County. There are many new housing developments under construction in Vista, Oceanside, Bonsall, and Carlsbad specifically. One of the largest new developments is located in Carlsbad off of El Camino Real. Toll Brothers at Robertson Ranch is building an estimated 672 homes over the next year and a half or so. Now, my office is located very, very close to that particular development. I drive by it almost every single day. I've watched them, the big earth movers come and move all the dirt around. They've been laying the streets down. And I think a lot of people are really excited about that particular development. But, I think that whenever you're buying a new house, new housing developments, there are pros and cons to buying in new housing developments. And, when many people think that, that when they buy these houses, they don't want to buy old houses because, well, it's old. I want to buy something new. I want, newness is better. And, they go to the open houses that the model homes, and they see all the fancy gadgets, and they see the nice neighborhood with the community pool and extra wide streets, all of that stuff. But when we get back from our break, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about new housing developments and some things that people should consider when thinking about moving to the new housing development. We'll be back after this message.
Look no further. We have the answer. AM 1170. The Answer.
Craig Sewing here, host of The Craig Sewing Show. I want you to think in your head for a minute. How much money did you make last year? Here's a better question. How much money did you keep? In other words, how much of your hard-earned money was for you rather than giving it away to this inefficient government of ours? If you think the government's inefficient, I got a challenge for you. I'm going to challenge your efficiency with your tax plan. My good friend Doug Jennings, who you hear on KCBQ all the time, is a savant when it comes to tax planning. As Doug puts it, Craig, I've never even seen a tax return I can't improve. Doug can help you keep more of your money, help you improve your structure for your taxes, your business, your real estate, even your marriage. Why wouldn't you take a moment to get a free consultation? It can save you thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. He's not really a friend of the IRS, but I'm a consumer advocate. I want him helping you. This is something you got to do. Visit JenningsTaxLaw.com for a free consultation on your tax plan. That's JenningsTaxLaw.com. You can thank me later. Doug is a great person, a great professional. He and his wife Peggy are friends of mine. I give him my highest recommendation. JenningsTaxLaw.com. Visit him today. Hey, Craig Sewing here, consumer activist. You hear me every day at 6 p.m. on KCBQ. My goal is to help you win in any marketplace. One of the things that applies to every single person that listens to our show and that's listening right now, you have a credit score, and more likely than not, it has inaccuracies on it. Nobody seems to understand how these things work. Here's what I can tell you. I have a credit expert that's a partner in the show named Aran Sinai. I call him the credit magician. If you've ever had any issues with your credit, you want to get your scores up, maybe a foreclosure, bankruptcy, or maybe just a collection. You know, the city of San Diego can send parking tickets to collections. Crazy. Well, bad credit's a choice. Reach out to Aran Sinai. How do you do that? You go to our website, AmericanDreamElite.com. AmericanDreamElite.com. Hit me up on the contact form. I'll connect you with Aran. AmericanDreamElite.com. If you've ever had any credit issues whatsoever, AmericanDreamElite.com.
Hi, this is AJ Gupta from the Gupta Legal Center. You've probably seen us on the American Dream TV show and the Craig Sewing radio show. We're honored to be featured as the exclusive real estate attorney and honored to be trusted by Craig and all of his top producing realtors. Our office was also featured as a super lawyer representing California's top 5% of attorneys. You may not know whether you need an attorney or not. My suggestion is you kind of have an idea whether there's a problem or a question. So I suggest if you don't know whether you need an attorney or not, give us a call. We're happy to pick up the phone, give you a call back, figure out what it is that you need to have addressed. If we can't or don't know the issue, then we can definitely point you in the right direction. Our phone number is 619-866-3444. That's 619-866-3444, and that's GuptaLC.com. GUPTALC.com.
Before we went on break, we were talking about new housing developments. There's a couple things I think people should really know about new housing developments, and it's things that a lot of people don't take into consideration. The first thing you have to take into consideration when potentially buying in a new housing development is that the new housing development could have Mello-Roos. Mello-Roos are something that that people have to pay in a lot of new developments. They're added onto your property tax bill and are frequently glossed over by the developers of new homes. They don't really like to point that out too much, although they do have to disclose it. It's not like on their top list of things that they really want to get into an in-depth conversation with you about. And you know what's funny is a lot of people are so enamored with the new neighborhood that they kind of say, oh yeah, that's not that big of a deal, until they get their first property tax bill. And then they're like, oh my Lord, what is that? Well, that's Mello-Roos. Hello, welcome to the new development. The second thing that homeowners or home seekers need to take into consideration is the fact that the model home that you see is usually comprised of a lot of upgrades. So when they're selling you the base price for a house, it's kind of the bare bones house. Then they do the add-ons, kind of like you're buying a car and you want all the extra add-ons, like the True Coat, things like that. They start adding those things on. So when you sit down there and they start adding on, well, you want the granite countertops, you want this type of flooring, you want this, you want that, it starts adding up. The third thing you really, really need to keep in mind is that developers don't develop the backyards. So when you get your new house, you're going to get builder's grade landscaping in the front yard, and you're going to get a plot of dirt in the backyard. And the tough thing about it is you're probably thinking, well, we spent all our money trying to get into this house. We'll just landscape it later on when we get to come into some money. The problem is a lot of these developments have HOAs, and the HOAs require that you develop your backyard within a certain amount of time of purchasing the house, because a lot of times the other homeowners around you can see into your backyard. So you're gonna be forced to look into developing that backyard, which means you're going to have to worry about hardscape costs, irrigation costs, drainage costs, and landscaping costs. So that starts adding up. It's like every time you see it, it's like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It just adds up really, really, really quick. So these are things that you really need to keep in mind when looking at new housing developments. And the other thing I think I want to talk about a little bit is that most people think they don't need representation when purchasing a new home. They think they can go directly to the builder and their agents, which they can. I mean, that is true. They can do that, and a lot of people do that. However, I'm of the belief that a home buyer should always have their own representation. My guess is that maybe 80% of the time the transactions go smoothly and a home buyer purchases a new home and they never have need of their agent. And, sometimes people say, well, that agent got paid for nothing and, we didn't need him. Well, first off, a developer's not going to give you a better deal for not having an agent, okay? They're not going to say, oh, you don't have an agent, you come with us, I'll knock some money off the house. That usually doesn't happen. The house price is kind of set with the upgrades. There's not a lot of negotiations that go on there. But the thing that you need to realize is what happens when things go wrong, when a builder's not living up to representations or hassling you over contractual issues, or you're having trouble with your loans. Well, that's where in my legal practice, I get lots of calls. That's what happens when that happens. People call me, or people like me, saying, my builder's doing this or my builder's doing that. What do I need to do? Well, the irony is if the homeowner would have used, or the home seeker would have used someone like me from the very beginning, I would be able to tackle these problems without any cost to the buyer at all. However, because they didn't, then they have to go and they have to pay someone like me to go in there and step in for them and champion their cause and try to straighten everything out. So basically, getting an agent in a situation with a developer is kind of like having an insurance policy. But what you really need to look for is an agent that has experience in dealing with new housing developments, because the issues that arise from new housing developments are different than the ones that arise for resale homes. So it's really, really important that, that you have somebody that's dependable that can really help you out and guide you through the process, because relying on the agents that work for the developer could come back to bite you in the you-know-what sooner or later. So, as I said, it's more like an insurance policy to have an agent. And believe me, if you need them, like the people that call me, they wish they would have done it. Now, the important thing is the new agent has to accompany you during your first visit to the new housing development. So if you do want an agent to represent you, make sure you call an agent before you go and have them meet you at the development and sign up there. And that way you're good to go. The agent is your official representative. And if you run into any trouble, you can rely on him. The next thing I really want to talk about is disclosures. Okay. This is this is a really important thing that people kind of gloss over a lot. Disclosures when buying a home, a resale home, the challenge is you're buying a house that's been lived in for a period of time. You don't know what's going on with it. You have to get inspections, and you're hoping that the seller gives you all the information related to the house, which he's supposed to do in the seller property questionnaire and the transfer disclosure statement. But it is really, really, really important that you do a thorough inspection. And it is very, very, very important as a seller that you properly disclose on that house. I know a lot of sellers are scared because they feel that, well, if something went, if I tell them this, the buyer's going to walk away. No, the buyer's probably not going to walk away. There's a way to tell the buyer without scaring them, but you still need to inform the buyer, because the buyer has every right to know what's going on. I'll give you an example. I had a guy who came into my office, and I did not represent the buyer or the seller in this transaction, but he came into my office and he says, Michael, he says, I am the buyer of a property, and I want to sue the seller for not disclosing an issue. And I said, well, what issue was it? And he says, well, the issue is that my main line from my sewer has a bunch of roots in it, and I have to replace it, and it's going to cost me like $6,000. And I said, well, it's very hard for a seller to know if there's roots in a mainline sewer. I said, what did your transfer disclosure statement, your SPQ say? And he says, well, there was no reference to anything related to plumbing. And I said, well, you're going to have a little bit of a tough time kind of proving that he knew about it. And she goes, well, that's what I thought, except for when the guy was out there digging the hole for the mainline sewer, the neighbor came up and said, wow, you're finally fixing that problem. And she said, what do you mean? She says, well, yeah, the previous owner, he had plumbers over here all the time. He was constantly working on the plumbing. Well, there you go. The bottom line is that even if the toilets were backing up or the showers are backing up, and even if the seller did not know specifically that the cause of those problems was related to the roots, they should have disclosed on their transfer disclosure statement or their SPQ that they had frequent problems with draining in the pipes. And if they would have done that, they would have done their duty. They had no idea that, unless they actually did know that there was a problem with the main line. But that's one of those things where it's very important when I have my clients, I advise them, look, make sure you disclose, because you put it on there and you put them on notice. Then it's the buyer's responsibility to do further inspections should they choose to do it. So it is really, really important. I had a situation where I had this set of buyers, these poor buyers. I mean, we keep going to houses and we keep running into the weirdest situations. The first house that they wanted to buy, we put an offer in, we went into escrow. The buyer's driving around the house one day, sees the garage door open, sees the seller in the garage, basically installing or modifying pipes, these weird pipes in the garage. And he's sitting there modifying these pipes, and he calls me in front of the house, says, hey, the seller's in here modifying these pipes. Have we got the disclosures yet? I said, no. He says, well, I'm curious to know what he's doing because they're very unusual looking. So we get the SPQ TDS, no mention of any modified pipes, nothing at all. So we have our home inspection, and the roofer says there's some cracked tiles, and there's still no mention of the pipes. So I talked to the other agent, and I said, hey, look, we need to know what's going on with those pipes, and we'd like a credit for some of these roof tiles. The agent says, no, we don't want to give you a credit, and the seller doesn't know anything about these pipes. I'm like, well, the seller was literally fixing them when my guy drove by. And he says, well, we're not going to do anything. So we hire a roofing contractor to come over and look through the attic. Well, it turns out that the roof is leaking really bad. How do we know? Because in the attic, on the drywall on top, you can see this giant water stain. We go out of the attic and we look in the room where the giant water stain is. It's freshly painted. It looks like it was never there. It was a freshly painted room. The roofer says, look, this thing leaks every time it rains. You can see daylight coming through. There's obviously a problem here, and it's dripping down. And he says, whoever's doing this is basically hiding it from you. And sure enough, that was what was happening. We went back, tried to get a roofing credit. The buyer said, no way. And we walked away from that transaction. We went into another transaction where there was a solar panels on top of the roof. We were originally told that the solar panels were owned. Then, when we got into it, I told the other agent, I said, please send me some evidence that the solar panels are owned. He goes, oh, well, they're not owned, they're leased, but there's no payments. I said, well, I've never heard of a lease with no payments. And he said, well, let me check into it a little bit more. Then it turns out that it's actually not owned, it's leased, and there are payments. And the payment schedule is crazy. I mean, it starts off really low, looks really good from the beginning, but by the time it's done, it's super huge. And I said, well, what's going on with that? And he goes, well, even when it escalates to the highest level, it's still lower than what the person's electrical bill was before. I'm like, well, what was the person's electrical bill before? He says, oh, it was like $400 to $600 a month. I'm like, on an 1,800 square foot house, what are they running in there? And he says, no. He says it was only $400 to $600 a month. I'm telling you. I said, well, produce a couple of the electrical bills so that I can see it. Sure enough, he doesn't do it, and we have to back out. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about San Diego's housing market at mid-year. We're going to look at some statistics and see what's going on. We'll see you after the break.
Look no further. We have the answer. AM 1170. The Answer.
Hey, San Diego, Craig Sewing here. Look, one of the things that nobody likes to hear is that they got bugs in their home. Almost all California homes have some sort of bug or termite problem. It's not a cool thing to have bugs running around your house, so I'm going to help you get rid of them. I want you to connect with Lloyd's Pest Control. These are our good friends of the Craig Sewing Show. They can help you. They've been in business putting bugs out of business since 1931. They'll do a free inspection for you. If you want to get your biggest investment checked out, make sure there's not bugs or termites, go to LloydPest.com. That's LloydPest.com and get a free inspection of your real estate today.
Going through divorce can be very stressful. It is important to know your rights. I'm attorney Ilona Antonian. I'm a certified family law specialist. For over a decade, I've been helping San Diegans win their divorce and custody cases. If you have questions about divorce, property division, child or spousal support, modification of orders, or find yourself in a custody battle, please call us at 619-696-1100. Find us online at expertdivorcelaw.com, where you can download our free divorce, mediation, and recovery guides that I hope you find useful.
Welcome back. I'm Michael Gaddis, and this is the Michael Gaddis Show, where the talk show that talks about everything related to real estate, whether it be real estate, finance, or any legal issues related to real estate. As I mentioned before the break, I want to talk a little bit about San Diego's housing market at mid-year. Jonathan Horn of the Union Tribune wrote an article just the other day breaking down some statistics about the San Diego real estate market. In the article, he says that Movoto says San Diego is home to one of the nation's top zip codes, and that zip code is 92121. He says in the article that the median house price for all homes in San Diego County in the first 6 months of 2015 is up 5.8% from last year. And he says that median house price is $455,000. It's the highest mid-year median since it was $488,000 in 2007. That is really, really amazing to me. I mean, seriously. I come from, you guys know, the Midwest. And in the Midwest, a $488,000 house is a huge home. And here, it's just barely the median house price. The average rent in San Diego County in March was up 9% to $1,575 from $1,445 in 2014. I mean, rental rates are getting high too. The average number of sales are up per month to 3,443. And the average number of active listings per month from January to June was a 2.9% drop from last year at 6,335. So just like we were talking about earlier, there's definitely a shortage in inventory in San Diego, which is affecting the price of the homes. You know, probably one of the most interesting statistics that I saw here was the amount of distressed properties on the market. There are not a lot of distressed properties on the market anymore. At one time, they comprised 50 to 70% of what of the MLS. Now, according to Jonathan's article, 4.1% were real estate owned or similar to foreclosure sales. Only 4.1%. And I think that 4.1% breaks down to 2% REOs and 2% short sales. REOs are basically bank-owned listings. That is a remarkable statistic. I mean, if there is any indicator whatsoever that the real estate market has officially, recovered, it's the fact that the median house price is the highest it's been since 2007, and that the percentage of distressed sales in San Diego are down so low. That is quite remarkable. Another statistic I found amazing, according to his article, was that 24.3% of people buying houses are cash buyers. So there's a lot of cash buyers going around buying up homes. And that kind of tells me, because San Diego's very unique. It's not like a lot of other areas in the country. Because of our climate, our market is not just comprised of people in the immediate metropolitan area. Our market is not only national, but global. We've got people from all over the world who want to live in San Diego. So our market is driven by, money from out of state and from out of the country. So that's what really kind of helps support the San Diego, real estate market, is the fact that all these foreign investors want to come in and buy these things. And it's driving up prices. Even it's actually very incredible. The amount of monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment at Strata in the East Village, one of San Diego's most expensive buildings, is $3,000 a month. So affordability is really, really becoming an issue in San Diego, because when it comes to loans, it's really, really hard. In the old days, when people tried to qualify for a loan back in 2005 and 6 and 7, the banks had really loosened up their belts. They were giving 100% financing, meaning no money down, and they were giving stated income loans. Basically, you could walk in and basically tell someone how much you were making, and sure enough, you get a house. I mean, literally, it was so bad that you could have a rhinoceros from the zoo go in with a social security number and state that he was making $20,000, and he was almost getting a house in Del Mar in a week. I mean, it was really that absurd. Now the pendulum has swung, and after the banks have really taken a beating because of all of these bad loan products they put out, they stripped away a lot of the loan products that were there and left us with full doc loans. And so proving income is really important in trying to get a loan now. So that's what's really remarkable to me, because in order to qualify to buy these loans, you have to prove your income for the most part. And proving your income based on the ratio requirements that these loans have, it can be really, really, really difficult. So what a lot of times, based in my finance practice of Frontier Loan Group, we find that it's a lot of the people buying the houses are two-income buyers. So we have, two incomes buying the house, supporting the house, which kind of makes me think that the market is a little bit tenuous, because if there's a lot of double wage earners qualifying for the house, it just tells me that if anything at all happens to one or both of the people in the house, it could be really catastrophic to people, because these are such large loan amounts, which result in such large payments that, that it is a somewhat of a tenuous market when it comes to that, but it doesn't seem to be stymieing it. I mean, these statistics are incredible when you think about it, that we're still just just really, really increasing our home values, and the prices are going up, and it is really quite amazing. I'd like to take us for a moment down to my featured listing of the week. I'd like to talk about a listing located in Carmel Valley at 4251 Pilon Point. This is an interesting listing because within a half-mile radius of this house, there is only one competitive listing really that is, in the same square footage or general area of it. That just shows you about the inventory issues that we're having. There's only one real active comp in the area right now. This home is really amazing though. It's got such a great energy to it. You walk in and it's got lots of light, great open floor plan. It's got this really elegant, staircase in front. It's got 4 bedrooms and it's got 3 full baths. Now, this house has a bedroom and a bath downstairs. Right now, there's a little wall separating the bedroom and bathroom, but that wall could easily be taken out and make it an ensuite type downstairs bed and bath combo. Upstairs, there's a very, very large bedroom. I mean, this bedroom upstairs is so large, this extra bedroom. You could literally make it into 2 separate bedrooms, and some of the people in the community have done that. They've taken this room and they've made it into 2 different rooms, and it really is amazing. This house really feels a lot bigger than what it is. It's 2,533 square foot. But it does feel big. It feels much larger than that. It's a pretty remarkable home. The house right now is listed at $995,000, and based on the comps, it's really a steal at that price. So if anybody's interested in that particular property, please feel free to contact me at michael@michaelgaddis.com. That's michael@michaelgaddis.com. I really think that you'll really like that this particular property if you're looking in that area. It's a very clean, well-maintained house, and it just has such a great energy to it. It's a great, great, great family home. The other thing I want to get back a little bit to is that there was another article that I found that said thriving San Diego economy is enticing investors. Because even the inventory is down, investors are still coming here because, as I mentioned earlier, this is such a unique environment, real estate environment, because of our climate and because of what San Diego has to offer people, that investors are still pouring money into here and still trying to buy up properties. They're buying up a lot of the 2 and 4 unit properties. Because they just know that there's just such a demand, and as baby boomers continue to retire, and a lot of them want to relocate to more favorable climates. San Diego is the quintessential climate, maybe if not in the United States for sure, but maybe one of the quintessential climates in the entire world. So, as baby boomers are retiring, a lot of them want to kind of move out to an area, and San Diego is very high on their list. So a lot of investors are kind of banking on that fact, and they're buying up a lot of property. And, but that goes, what happens then is as the housing affordability goes down, as the demand surges, because the real estate market's dictated by the laws of supply and demand. And when it comes down to it, right now the supply is low and the demand is there, so it's raising the prices. So hopefully all those new home developments we were talking about earlier will basically help, provide more inventory for a lot of the people who are kind of priced out of the housing market right now. When we come back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit about reverse mortgages, some of the myths surrounding reverse mortgages, and some of the misconceptions, and who a reverse mortgage might be good for and who a reverse mortgage might not be good for. So after the break, we'll be talking about that.
Look no further. We have the answer. AM 1170. The Answer.
What if you could safely grow your retirement account with a reasonable rate of return with no risk of principal? Hi, this is Dave Harris with Wealth Preservation, specializing in retirement income and insurance planning. There's nothing I enjoy more than helping San Diegans protect and grow their retirement savings. For over 4 decades, we have helped families achieve financial success. If you need help with your retirement planning, please visit me online or call me today. My number is 800-313-PLAN or visit me online at wealthpreservationllc.com.
Hey, Craig Sewing here. Look, I get asked all the time from craigsewing.com, who is my CPA? I got to tell you, this guy is the savant of tax planning. He's not just a CPA that does all the paperwork. He will actually help you coordinate a full-blown tax plan and asset protection. I have never referred anybody to Doug Jennings that was not able to reduce their taxes. Not once. And I've never heard anything negative. I give my highest recommendation to Doug Jennings at JenningsTaxLaw.com. You got to reach out to him, a free consultation, and you'll see you might be able to cut your tax liability in half. Ethically, legally, it just takes a plan. Doug Jennings, JenningsTaxLaw.com. Reach out to him today, JenningsTaxLaw.com.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show. I'm Michael Gaddis, and we're here talking about everything related to real estate, whether it be finance, real estate transactions, or any legal issues related to real estate transactions. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about reverse mortgage. I'm going to put my finance hat on here, and as I am a mortgage broker and I deal in reverse mortgages quite a bit, I kind of want to talk a little bit about what they are and who they're good for and some of the misconceptions related to reverse mortgages. When I was young, my father left my mother at a very young, when I was very young. I think I was 8 or 9 years old when he left. Because he left, my mother and my 2 sisters and I were forced to live with my grandparents. So I grew up with my grandparents, and I saw firsthand how they struggled to give us a good life. They did not budget or anticipate that they would have to be taking care of extra people. They were on a limited budget. They had a very fixed income for Social Security and retirements. And as we were growing up, they did their best to provide us with the best possible life. I basically grew up with them, and it was enjoyable. Although I did have to watch a lot of Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan shows and Mom Paul Kettles and a lot of programs that most people today don't even know what they are. I found out as I got older that I have an old soul. Basically, I connect very well to people because I can appreciate firsthand what they go through. Now, when I see people who are on fixed incomes, and I know that I see homeowners struggling. I mean, some of these homeowners have a very limited budget. They have enough money to pay their mortgage if they have one and their living expenses, but they don't have any money after paying any of their bills to go out to eat. Some don't have money to drive, to go to church. They don't have money to even for the gas to do that. They certainly don't have money to travel, and they don't have money to go see their grandchildren. And that is not a quality of life, especially if somebody is sitting on a house that has a considerable amount of equity or is paid off. So the reverse mortgages is kind of targeting those types of people. It's targeting the types of people who are struggling. Reverse mortgages are not for everybody. I mean, the reverse mortgage is more for those types of people who have very, very limited disposable income versus the people who have, a lot of disposable income. So if a homeowner comes to me and says, I'm thinking about a reverse mortgage, and I look at their budget sheet, and I see that after paying all their bills, they have a lot of money, enough money to, enjoy life. I might even second guess what their motivation is or why they really want a reverse mortgage. Whereas if somebody comes in and I can see just on paper that they're barely surviving, I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. And, reverse mortgages have had there's a lot of misconceptions and myths about them and a lot of evil press about what they are. But it's just like any loan product. You just have to understand it. As a loan broker, I'm really big into transparency. I believe that educating people and letting people fully understand what they're getting into, full disclosure. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Just like the old negative option, the option arm loans, the negative amortization loans that were very prevalent back in 2006, 2007. The product itself wasn't necessarily a bad product. It was how it was sold and how it was explained and what people's expectations were. It was just totally abused, and it became a nightmare for a lot of lenders and a lot of homeowners. Reverse mortgages, when properly understood, they're very straightforward. Basically, it allows homeowners to live in their house without making payments. In some instances, they can get cash payments out either through one lump sum or periodic payments. But it allows them to free up a lot of income or get some of the income from their house so they can enjoy it now. Instead of, sitting on being house poor, basically sitting on a paid off or nearly paid off house and not being able to afford to do anything. And a lot of the people who are in this situation are really proud and don't necessarily want to, tell their family members that they're struggling so much because, they figure that they're the elders and that they've lived their lives and, they don't want to burden their children with their financial problems. But I'll tell you that a reverse mortgage could really, really make a difference in a lot of people's lives. I've seen it happen. I've seen people's lives literally turn around because of it. Now, some of the myths and misconceptions as a homeowner loses title to their home. That's one of them. That's not true. The loan is a negatively amortizing loan, which means that the balance goes up every month that a homeowner doesn't make a payment. Now, it is possible that if the homeowner lives a super long time, which we all hope they do, we hope they all live to be 100, 110, it could be that over the course of time, the loan has negatively amortized to the point where there's no equity left. Well, in that case, basically the heirs have the opportunity to come in and purchase the property at 95% of the market value. And if they choose not to do that, then they can just let the house go or they can short sell it, whatever it is. There's no recourse to the heirs for that particular situation. Another myth is that the heirs will not receive any of the remaining equity when the reverse mortgage becomes due and payable. That's not true either. Basically, whatever equity is left, the heirs have an opportunity to sell the house. And I know firsthand because I represent a lot of people who have the heirs in their through probate and through these sales with the reverse mortgage lenders after someone has passed away. I talk to the banks all the time and communicate with them on that front as well. And they're very communicative. As long as basically there's communication, an avenue of communication going back and forth, the banks are very, very willing to work with you. They're not there to steal people's houses. They just basically want to get their investment back, in a timely manner. And they don't like when people sit around and pretend things aren't happening, which is some of the times with the horror stories you hear is basically, a relative or somebody is sitting in the house after somebody passes away. They don't want to pay they don't want to tell anybody about it because they're not paying anything to live there. They're ignoring all the notices that the banks are getting, and pretty soon the bank starts pressing them hard, and then lo and behold, they're the victim that, oh boy, they're trying to take this house away. No, you've been notified 100 times that something's going to happen, so you just have to be proactive. You just can't sit there and pretend it's not happening. You're not an ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand. The other thing is that, reverse mortgages lenders take advantage of senior homeowners. That's not true either. There's actually HUD counseling that has to take place prior to a homeowner getting a reverse mortgage. They have to go through an independent third party that basically explains to them and makes sure that they understand what they're getting, how it works, and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities and ways to protect the homeowner. But the biggest way that a homeowner can really protect themselves is by approaching somebody who is very competent in the rules and regulations related to reverse mortgages, and somebody that's going to be extremely transparent. You shouldn't just go with the first person that basically plops down a proposal to you. You really should take the time to shop. I believe that in just about everything that I do, and I encourage everyone else to do it too. So I think that if anybody is interested in a reverse mortgage, feel free to contact me. You can contact me at michael@michaelgaddis.com. I'd love to sit down with whoever it might be and go through and fully educate people on the ins and outs of reverse mortgages, the pros and cons. It takes a lot longer than I have to explain it right here, but I think it is a very good product that can literally change people's lives. And there are so many good features about it that, I just imagine my grandparents when I was living in that house with them, watching those Johnny Weissmuller black and white Tarzan movies that they used to make me watch. I can imagine if they had an opportunity to get something like this, how their lives would have been different. And and that's what I think is important. I love helping people, and I love it when they get something that can literally change their life, and something like a reverse mortgage can. But again, as I mentioned, it's not for everybody. I mean, people can come in here and say, well, I get $10,000 a month in disposable income. Should I get a reverse mortgage? Well, probably not. I mean, there are some arguments that you could make that, yeah, it could be advantageous somewhat, but in the end, it all comes down to a specific situation. There is no universal, yes, it's perfect for you. It's a case-by-case analysis, and frankly, people need to fully understand it before they get it. And if they do, then there's not any problems. If they don't, and they half listen or don't pay attention, then it can become problematic, for their heirs and such like that. So, I think, as I said, there's so many myths and misconceptions, and it seems like there's an expert on everything. Just like in real estate, there's always a real estate expert, right? So basically, you tell them you want to sell your house, all of a sudden everybody in the neighborhood is an expert running in and saying, hey, go call my guy, or don't do this or do that. Same thing with loans, and reverse mortgages. Everybody's got an opinion on them. Half the time, people don't know what they're talking about, or only half educated on them, or they went to the University of the Internet, where basically they learn everything and get their degree based on, just searching on Google. So anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the show today. My name is Michael Gaddis. As I mentioned, I am a real estate broker, a mortgage broker, and a licensed California attorney. And we are talking about everything related to real estate. If you have any questions you would like to ask or anything you would like me to address on the show, please feel free to contact me at michael@michaelgaddis.com. That's Michael at michaelgaddis.com. You can also go to my website at www.michaelgaddis.com, or you can send me a tweet at mgjdrealty. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week at 8 o'clock p.m.